Yo, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we're taking a look up in Dallas, or I guess down in Dallas, at the Dallas Stars as they currently have a restricted free agent still available. He hasn't signed yet with the Dallas Stars, and ownership there in Dallas seems a little bit timid at the thought of giving a massive contract to a young player coming off his entry-level contract. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, the fact that Dallas Stars ownership, Tim Galliard or something like that, is not necessarily a fan of giving out massive contracts. He's disappointed with what he's gotten from Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin so far in their careers, and it's led to some speculation about what could happen to Jason Robertson. He actually came out with a quote even saying, listen, these kids coming off of entry-level contracts that have scored 75 points in their NHL careers are already asking for $7.5 million. And if that's all Robertson's asking for, I think I would take that. So what we're kind of looking at right now is a situation where Dallas doesn't necessarily have the cap space. Now, this was something from All Hockey Culture. It said the Stars' current projected cap space is $6.3 million. Compensation for a restricted free agent on an offer sheet of $6.3 million to $8.4 million is a first, second, and third round pick. Compensation for RFA offer sheets of $8.4 to $10.5 million per season. It's 2 first-round picks, a second, and a third. A team that makes the most sense to make an offer sheet for Robertson is the Detroit Red Wings. Now that's going to lead us to our second point. So the first point is ownership's a little timid at the idea of giving a massive extension to a guy like Jason Robertson. But then comes the question, well, does he end up staying in Dallas or does he potentially get traded? I do think getting traded is definitely an option. And an offer sheet is also on the table here. So is this leverage? I think it's a little bit of leverage here for the really for Jason Robertson. But it depends on what they're looking at, right? What are you looking at in a contract here? And, I think for Jason Robertson, he probably wants a shorter term deal. He probably wants $7.5 million between 3 and 4 years, which is enough. So when the new CBA deal comes out in 2025, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, the salary cap could go up to $98 million by 2025, 2026. Salary cap is going to increase a lot, and Jason Robertson's going to want a little piece of that pie. So if that's the case, well, then he's not going to want to sign a big ticket contract right now, right? And that way he could cash in on another contract when he turns 26, 27, and that could take him to the end of his days in wherever he ends up. So the Detroit Red Wings are one of those teams. Yes, they can afford to give up the draft picks because you look at where they've been the last couple of years. They've been at the bottom of the league. They've gotten a couple of really good prospects. So it's not necessarily like they need to get those guys. And again, when you look at another team that could be definitely in the mix, the Buffalo Sabres. I think the Buffalo Sabres are a really good team in the mix here. This is a guy that can score goals. I think he put up 17 goals his first season, 40 goals last season with the Dallas Stars, a team that isn't known for their offensive prowess. Jason Robertson, this is the perfect guy that they need there. But again, the fact that ownership is a little shaky on giving him that money, does a team throw an offer sheet? Because if the word gets out there that your ownership isn't willing to pony up, teams might be willing to give up the first, second, and third round pick in order to get Robertson. I think that's a very good deal, right? And for the Buffalo Sabres side of things, he kind of reminds me of like a Thomas Vanek. And shout out to Joe from Locked On Sabres. He kind of mentioned that. A good comparable would be Thomas Vanek, and I agree with that for the most part. So what we're looking at here with Jason Robertson is definitely a guy that can play in the NHL, can produce at a very young age. He's only 23, 24 years old. So this is a gamer. This is a guy that can play, and there's never been any questions about his off-ice situation in terms of how he is as a guy in the locker room or, injuries. He's never had any of those issues, which obviously helps matters. And when you look at the package, I think if you're a Sabres fan, you're looking at a Jack Eichel potential package, which is going to be costly, right? I hate to say it, but you're probably looking at a J.J. Peterka, probably a Dylan Cousins, and a first-round pick. And that's kind of expensive for a Sabres team that has been rebuilding the last couple of years. Are they for sure that they are going to, at the very least, be a playoff team? And again, maybe now that's lottery protected. Now you throw in a second-round pick because that might be a mid-first-round pick. So now you throw in a second-round pick as an extra compensation. Again, that's where this trade gets tricky. And the problem with the Sabres is I don't know if this is their year to go for it because they don't have the goaltending. And when you look at who's the guy they got from Winnipeg? Eric Comrie. Right? Eric Comrie and Craig Anderson, that's not really a goalie tandem that's going to win you a lot of games and necessarily in the playoffs if you even get that far. So is this the year that they should go for it? Now, it would definitely send a message to the fan base and to the team. Listen, we saw what Ottawa did, and another team here that's being mentioned, the Detroit Red Wings. We look at the Detroit Red Wings. They had a pretty busy flurry of action this summer in free agency. We're going to make a big move, and we're going to kind of keep up with the arms race. Or is Buffalo going to take the more steady approach and let the process take its course? Maybe they so maybe they aren't the best team in that division and they don't get it done this year, but they end up being better next year because they kept Peterka, they kept Cousins, and whatever that first round pick becomes in a couple of years. So you have to remember here, again, if you're looking at the long-term strategy of the Sabres, you have to be careful with trading your first round picks, or at least make sure you're good at drafting, because you're going to get to a point where you have these kids, probably not Tage Thompson, obviously, but some of these guys that are going to be coming off of their entry-level contracts or having good seasons that want big-ticket money that the Sabres will no longer have. And that's where your young guys come in, right? You look at the Maple Leafs. They've drafted pretty well, so you still have guys in the system like a Robertson, Liljegren to a lesser extent, Sandin. Those are guys that you need to continually have on entry-level contracts. So the Sabres, yeah, you could give up your first-round pick this year, but make sure you keep some other draft picks so you don't mortgage your future in the immediate future, which is, say, next year or 2 years from now as well. So there's a lot to consider here. I do think the Red Wings are a better fit for this move. You look at some of the guys they've got on this team, you question the longevity of a Tyler Bertuzzi. Is there a sign-in trade? Maybe the Sabres pick up a guy like, say, Tyler Bertuzzi. They pick up a first-round pick. There's a lot that Dallas could end up getting in return from Detroit that I think you have to consider if you're the Dallas Stars. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think will happen with the restricted free agent Jason Robertson? Will he stay in Dallas and this all kind of blows over? No big deal. Does he end up going to Detroit or Buffalo or maybe another wild card team? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.